in September, Miss Barrington rolled out a big poster with all the president's pictures on it. Grace Campbell could not believe her eyes. Where are the girls? That is a very good question, Grace. The truth is, our country has never had a woman president. No girl president? Ever? Grace sat at her desk and stewed. No girls? Who's ever heard of such a crazy thing? Finally, she raised her hand. In 1917, the first woman was elected to Congress. Her name was Jeanette Rankin, and she was a Montanan. With being elected, she opened doors that had been closed for millennia. She made history and began a lineage full of women who have continued to persevere for over a century. Containing excerpts from Grace for President by Kelly DiPuccio, Caged Bird by Maya Angelou, Our Idea of Nothing at All by Alice Dower, and Vice President Kamala Harris's victory speech. This is Herstory in the Making, a program. Free bird leaps off the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips her wings in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down her narrow cage can seldom see through her bars of rage. Her wings are clipped and her feet are tied, so she opens her throat to sing. Yes, Grace? I've been thinking it over, and I'd like to be president. Several students in the class laughed. Well, I think that's a star-spangled idea, Grace. In fact, we can have our own election right here at Woodrow Wilson Elementary. The snickering in the room stopped. Grace smiled. Would anyone like to run for president? Nobody raised their hands. Becoming president was going to be easy, Grace thought. In the name of democracy, I've invited Mr. Waller's class to join us. Their class has nominated Thomas Cobb to be their presidential candidate. Grace's heart sank. Thomas was a school spelling bee champion, and he was captain of the soccer team. Becoming president wasn't going to be so easy after all, Grace thought. Oh, women. Have you heard the news of Charity and Grace? Look how joy and gratitude are beaming in my face, for Mr. Webb is not opposed to a woman in her place. Oh, Mr. Webb, how kind you are to let us live at all, to let us light the kitchen range and tidy up the hall. The teachers put the names of all 50 states and the District of Columbia into a hat. Everyone except for Grace and Thomas would get to choose a state. Each state is assigned a number of electoral votes. That number is determined by how many people live in that state. Each of you will be a representative for your state. Altogether, our country has 538 electoral votes. On election day, the candidate who receives 270 or more votes wins the election. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still. And her tune is heard on a distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. Grace came up with a campaign slogan. Make herstory! Vote Grace Campbell for president! Thomas came up with his own slogan. Vote Thomas Cobb, the best man for the job. Thomas wasn't worried. He had cleverly calculated that the boys held slightly more electoral votes than the girls. Grace made campaign posters and buttons. At recess, she gave speeches. During lunch, she gave out free cupcakes. And after school, she held rallies. At recess, Thomas studied his spelling words. During lunch, he worked on his latest science experiment. And after school, he played soccer to tolerate the female sex in spite of Adam's fall. Oh, girls, suppose Mr. Webb were to alter his decree. Suppose he were opposed of us, opposed of you and me. What would be left for us to do, except cease to be? In early November, Woodrow Wilson Elementary hosted a special Election Day assembly. The voting demonstration was quickly coming to an end, and Grace looked at the scoreboard. Thomas had 268 electoral votes. She had 267. There was still only one state unaccounted for: Wyoming. I'm thinking of her. And about the generations of women, Black women, Asian, white, Latina, Native American women, who throughout our nation's history have paved the way for this moment tonight. The women who fought and sacrificed so much for equality and liberty and justice for all the women who have conserved the right to vote for over a century. 100 years ago with the 19th Amendment, 55 years ago with the Voting Rights Act, and now in 2020 with a new generation of women who cast their ballots and continue to fight for their right to vote and be heard. Wyoming walked up to the microphone. He looked at Thomas. He looked at Grace. He didn't say a word. All eyes were on Wyoming. The equality state of Wyoming gives its 3 electoral votes for tonight. I reflect on their struggle, their determination, and the strength of their vision to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And I stand on their shoulders. And while I may not be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. Grace Campbell! The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still. And her tune is heard on a distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The gymnasium erupted in loud cheers and a few boos. Miss Barrington approached the podium. With 270 electoral votes, the winner is Grace Campbell. Thomas looked stunned. Grace hugged Wyoming. Why'd you do it? Because I thought you were the best person for the job. Every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities. And to the children of our country, regardless of your gender, our country has sent you a clear message. Dream with ambition Lead with conviction and see yourself in a way others may not, simply because they've not seen it before. My name is Grace Campbell, and when I grow up, I'm going to be president. And this time, everyone believed that she would be.